And we're live. Welcome to Prayers Radio. This is show number 11. I am Reverend Rich, and you are.
Reverend Paul.
Hey, I got it down with one hand. Oh, I didn't have to do that dual thing. That's sort of cool. And this in Prayers Radio, what we do is we have conversations about prayer as we use it in Science of Mind, so that we apply the prayer and allow it to be part of our lives. What do you think, Paul?
Oh, exactly. That's what we do. We embody the prayer that we're doing.
Embody. Oh, that means you. What are your thoughts on embody it?
Embody to feel it, to know it innately. That feeling beyond feeling that you get inside when you know something's correct or not correct, but we go with the correctness.
Oh, that's like coffee.
Like coffee.
Well, today what we're doing is we were the pre-show. We were actually talking about how are we going to invite guests on properly, because we want to make sure that the questions are distinct on application of prayer and how that actually works in your life. We don't care about the other flowery and whatever that's in there. We want to know. I want to know what works and how it works in somebody else's mind, whether it be a reverend or a prayer practitioner we invite, or even a lay person that does it. Because I've got my friend that goes to prisons and ministers to folks, and he's practitioner, but he does that, and he helps a lot of people that way. And then we have other folks that do things in this different types of sectors and stuff that are science of mind related, such as they could be a what is that called? A chaplain. And you know who I'm talking to, because I'm going to invite you on here. But we have a lot of neat people that do that, and we try to make our show succinct so that you just get the meat on this stuff and none of the fluff and the other things on there. And of course, Paul and I talked about this, and you're going to be able to plug your site and your book and stuff, and just in the beginning and the end, and we'll put it in the show notes for you. That's one of the things we're looking at doing on that. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, that's a good, just to understand how each person uses the Science of Mind, spiritual mind treatment, how it shows up in their life as they embody the teachings or principles. And then through prayer, knowing those principles, how is your prayer manifesting? Meaning, what's the outcome of your prayer?
And what we're looking at too is if there's specific types of ways that you do it that other people can go, man, I want to do that. I want to do that, because there are ways that you can do prayer, or how you trigger the prayer in your life. In our philosophy, we say, like Jesus, pray unceasingly, that type of thing. Do you pray unceasingly, Paul?
All the time. My whole life is a prayer.
Right. But we forget to do the prayer as human beings, because we got to do other things too. But we know that universal presence is within us and for us, and it says yes.
Yes. It's always affirming whatever we think and feel into it.
Right. And this is the conversation we'll have. Of course, we've formulated the questions, and we send them out to our guests so that we can maybe discuss it with them beforehand and after, so that our audience, which is you, can get the best out of what we're trying to discuss. And I think that's very important, to have that conversation, to find out exactly what others do in our philosophy that work for them. Because quite frankly, we're going back, remember I think it was show 8 that we talked about the dictionary, where they compile all the words together, and even the books that do, like Hayes did, that Louise Hayes did, they compile all these things from different sources, and God has moved them in that way to actually do that. And we're blessed to have those different books, or even any author for that reason, or whatever you're writing about. That's important, that those things come together in a cohesive text that they can actually apply it and share with the universe and the world that's around here, because you might have a better idea. This whole show right here is about having better ideas and better prayers. Go ahead.
And that's exactly what our philosophy of Science of Mind is. taking the best of everything, that golden thread that runs through religion and philosophy and science. And what is that commonality? And that's what we use in the science of mind. We take from all others that truth. And Ernest Holmes has beautifully synthesized it into the Science of Mind book.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's other books. That'll be a question too. It's you just not the science of mind. What favorite Ernest Holmes book that you actually use in your life to apply things? Living that type of thing. Uh, there are a lot of one-liners. They have this book called the 365 thing, where it takes all these quotes from Ernest Holmes, which is a wonderful thing if you need something for daily reading. I think it's beautiful. Not too much, not too little. Because I start reading and I'm like, oh man, where'd the day go? I have to do something else. You talked in the last show how you put a timer on things. Sometimes I have to put a timer on it and I have to go to the next thing, because even with prayer and what do you do for meditation, by the way?
Prayer becomes my meditation. So I
I
always
mean,
go in, I always start with prayer, and that brings me into the silence, that oneness for me, myself, knowing my oneness with that universal presence, God, spirit, divine, whatever you want to call it. It's that oneness within everything.
so we're Prayers Radio. So what we talked about too is that, in pre-show, is that uh, if somebody goes and I say, okay, Paul, you need to do a prayer for the show, go right into prayer right now. Boom, you're on stage.
Boom. So just closing our eyes and just realizing that all the power that there is in the universe starts from within. It's within each one of us. Knowing that oneness of that infinite cause, that first cause, that spirit, God, is through, in, and as everything. And being in, through, and as everything, I know it's in and through myself, and in as through Rich, and in as through everyone here listening to the sound of our voice. And so I call on that union of that one spirit, that one presence within each one of us, that's perfectly individualized as us. Just like each snowflake is different, each person is different. Each person is that snowflake representing that one force, that one spirit. And so in knowing that one force, that one spirit, that one presence is in, through, and as each person here, I just give great thanks, great joy. I just love knowing the fact that we are all that one. We are one. We're not individuals. We're individualizations of that one. And so we are open and receptive to hear whatever it is that we need to hear, to feel whatever it is that we need to feel. And that feeling presence is spirit coming through as us. And so knowing this, I just give great thanks, and I simply release it into the law, knowing that it is already done. And so it is.
So it is. That was the thing that we were talking about, is that sometimes you need to do an instant prayer. And you have to have that instant prayer available to you. God is, I am.
Mm-hmm. All is well.
That's a prayer right there. God is, I am, all is well. That's a prayer. You've released it into law because you're speaking it through, and it's going out to the universal all. The law, right there. Boom. Why do they call it the law in your mind, Paul?
Well, Ernest Holmes said there's love and there's law. Law is, matter of fact, it takes us at our thoughts and our words completely. And it only affirms, it only says yes to whatever we put into it. And the love is that feeling around that feeling that you get as you're doing it, that warm fuzzies, or before you said the goosebumps. little signs that it is there, it's working with us.
That's important, because the way that you look at it is the way you apply it, and the way that you apply it is the way that you accept it. And that's individualized for each person. If I say a prayer, it may not resonate with you. If you say a prayer, well, it's come from you. Where's that coming from? It's coming from here, going out. You're actually doing the prayer for yourself on all things.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else. We talked about, I think in show 3, that you were born by yourself. Oh gosh, I'm in a crib. Where am I? Or you're quiet at the end of the day. That's you. You're hearing your own thoughts. We talked about meditation before the thing. A lot of times, We I think show 7 or something we talked about visioning, that some people do visioning to help focus their minds on figuring out what they want and what they want to do. They look at things for themselves and are guided by the thoughts through visioning of what they want, or what they personally have to interpret what they want for themselves. Because a lot of times people don't ask the questions, what do you want? They just don't. But you were talking about the prayer and the application of it, specifically what works for you.
What do you mean? Can you explain a little bit more about the what works part?
Well, do you do a long prayer? Do you do a short prayer? God is, I am, and so it is.
Well, it
Or do
depends on in my mind how challenging it is for me to know the truth for somebody else or for myself. Some days it may just be a couple of lines and I know the truth right there. Other days it may be more to convince myself of the oneness with everything. So it depends on the prayer itself. There was a
now
wonderful woman I had in school, and we would be in a class, and she would be upset or something would happen to her, and she would just drop into prayer. It was the most beautiful thing I saw. In the middle of everything, middle of a crowded street, middle of whatever chaos was apparently going around, she could drop into prayer and have that chaos disappear.
that's uh that's interesting, because I was thinking of that, you brought that up, but one of my favorite words, and it's in my book, coming to a store near you, uh, is stop.
Mm.
Because the world's going around, the planes are flying in the air, the kids are screaming, the phone's ringing, your boss wants this, you want that, and you got to go to the bathroom. Stop. What's important? And then you answer the question for yourself.
That's perfect. I love that.
Well, you just said it a little bit of a story version, but I was thinking that before you said that, and I went, wow, there's the one mind working.
And it's funny
um,
that one mind is always working. It's always 100% there. It's
right.
just our consciousness to it that we need to kind of bring back to it, if that makes sense.
The consciousness. Now we know that the conscious speaks to the subconscious, which comes out into the conscious realm. Holmes
Right,
talks about.
manifests itself into our world.
Yeah. So when you're speaking consciousness into thought, what are your thoughts in regards of consciousness?
For me, consciousness is knowing the truth for who I am, that I'm
Okay.
perfect, I'm whole, I'm complete. There's nothing outside of me that I need because I've been given everything when I came into this world.
There's something you should realize, folks, is that if you weren't meant to be here, you wouldn't be here, because God does not make mistakes. And you're not a mistake.
And
God
that
does not make mistakes.
and as one of my favorite ministers said, Reverend Patty Parrish, she's in Vision in San Diego. She said, "Divine timing is everything, and everything is divine timing."
What's divine timing in your mind?
Knowing those sweet spots that everything's working out perfectly, and we get to see it, we get to witness it. That's the divine timing. The divine timing is you and I talking about a specific person, and that person calling us up saying, "Hey, I just had a thought to call you guys. What's going on?"
I've had that a lot lately. It's been really strange. A lot of aha moments and a lot of, hey, I haven't talked to you in forever. Let's talk. And it's usually good. It's never bad.
But
Um,
it's always there for you. You're manifesting that through your consciousness, if you will, your thoughts and feelings of that person. In the one mind, that person's going to hear, feel, think about that.
hmm. That one mind, we always bring up the bowl of soup in the universe, right? Alphabet soup. Uh, the one mind itself. A lot of times, if you're listening to this, you might be alone or something. You're looking for some guidance and stuff. You have to go for the guidance within you a lot of times, and that guidance itself. There's all these little weird things that sometimes pop in your head that may not may not serve you. And you dismiss those in science of mind and then accept in its place something, this or something better type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that for yourself? I mean, right now in the country, there's some challenges going on with belief systems and how things work. You've got the race mind, which is out there putting out their I have other words for it, but they have their own way of looking at things through race mind, which is propaganda or putting out a certain way that somebody wants you to think. But if you go within yourself and ask yourself, how do I think? How
Mm-hmm.
do I think for myself? How do I feel for myself? And what gives me joy that's not external, that is internal? Because the external stuff is it comes and goes. The sun will rise, the sun will set,
Okay.
and it'll be a new day. But how do you actually find that external within yourself is something that you have to just turn off the noise, deny power to all those things. When you're denying power to something, how do you do that in your own life, Paul?
Well, the race mind is ego mind. It's human mind. It's not the divine mind. So that's for me a very big distinction for myself when I go into that. If you go on the CSL website, it's all csl.org, and put in prayers, there's 4 different prayers there. And one of them is beautiful. It's called, they're all beautiful, but one in particular for me is called Wisdom. And it says, I turn away from what is not working, not to deny it, but not to give it any more power. I turn into that which I seek. And then you name what you want to seek. You want more joy, power, love. And that's what you're seeking. That's what you're going to get through the law.
And just a reminder for our audience, if you go to prayersradio.com and you click on there, you can get live prayer. You can go, it'll go to the prayers ministry over at CSL, and it'll give you ways to make your own prayer, not something we're giving you or something you're getting from somebody else, but it'll allow you to create that own prayer yourself, or to even have somebody call you back, because that's huge. You need that. A lot of people need a prayer. Nobody's exempt in this world. Or you can just internalize it and hold it onto it forever, which isn't always good. You always have to have prayer to figure out where you want to go and where you're at, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I like that. It reminded me of this Reverend David Alt. If you look
Okay.
him up online, he's amazing. He said to always look for God in everything. The divine is in everything. If everything is the divine is in that. So when we see this apparent chaos out there, really think about where is God in that and bring that God out. Call that forth. And you'll be amazed how it changes your thoughts and feelings about it.
And just for some of our folks that may have other belief systems that want neutrality, you don't have to call God God. God is
Okay.
just a word that we apply to the universal source, universal all. And then we had on show, I think was 3 or something like that. We talked about how some philosophies have many gods, but there is one all-encompassing God that covers everything. And we use that, the bowl of soup reference again, is that, everything is included inside this universal all. Everything that, and then you have demigods and all these other things and other philosophies and things like that. But, and, I invite you to take a look at that, do your own research, of course, on that. But if you're triggered by the God word,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I bring this up, is that some people get triggered by that. And
Yeah, just replace
that's,
it with another word.
yeah, Big Sweetie, I think somebody called it. And
I have a friend that
Ralph,
calls it Ralph.
Ralph.
And it works for them. If it works for them, it works for them. That's how they can bring it to them.
Right, right. Or universal, somebody, some people call it source, the source of all things. Or anyways, there's so many different ways to look at it, but don't get triggered by the God word, um, from philosophies or learnings that you've had in the past. That's just a reference to source, reference to the universal all.
That's inside everybody. There's nobody exempt from that because we're all born into it. And it with a capital I.
Yeah, and we're all part of it. Uh, there is no separation, that one mind that we talked about a
Mm.
bit ago. Oh, you were thinking this, but you're talking about it. Hey, that's great. The One of the things we were talking about on the prior on the show is that the way that we look at things, when we're asking questions, because this is what the show is about, is asking a lot of questions. And we were asking uh, how people actually start their day. Actually, is a big thing. Do you wake up grumpy? Do you wake up, oh God, not another day? Or do you just wake up and listen to some happy music or something like that?
Oh, and to piggyback on what you're saying, is that we're given this divine choice in our lives. We can choose beyond circumstances how to think and feel. So if we wake up grumpy, don't aggravate the grumpiness. Just know that the opposite of that is true for you as well. There's an example when it was raining out, someone would get up going, "Oh, it's raining out. This is going to be a terrible day." Well, the law is saying, "Yes, okay, I'm going to give you more of that." Now if they woke up and said, "Oh, it's raining out. The things are getting watered. This is beautiful. It's cleaning everything up." The law is giving them more beauty to look at. And that law is there all the time, working for us 24/7.
And that's a wonderful thing. We're having a short show today because we talked a lot before the show.
We had a lot to share.
I'm Reverend Rich.
And
You're
Reverend
Reverend.
Paul,
And what is your site again?
I am spiritalive.com.
And we are Prayers Radio. We are just having a fabulous day. And let's know together that you, as I speak my word of truth, I speak for everybody, that you are having a fantastic day, that we are having a fantastic day, and that we're not separate in that universe around us that is surrounding us and knowing us. We're recognizing and knowing that God, and unifying with that presence that is God, knowing that we're part of the whole, and declaring the perfection that is you,
Mm.
because I'm speaking my word of truth for you and for myself and everybody in the sound of my voice. Knowing that perfection is here and now, we give thanks and we release it into the law. There's my short prayer that I talked about, and so it is.